Hello, my art-loving friends. I have tried a variety of mediums in Sarah Renee Clark's Vibrant Wilds book. I have not tried every medium, just a fun variety that I was interested in. And today I'm going to show you that fun process and let you know what I think of the different mediums on this paper. The first medium of choice was Prismacolor colored pencils. I have been dying to use these again, and this page was calling my name. So I picked out 3 different color cubes that I thought would be fun, and then I have to choose among those 3 which one I would like to use. So I chose the far right, and I just scribbled out some swatches of colors I thought might be close and circled the ones that I felt were a good enough match for this. And of course you can do lighter and darker variations of this color, but for now I'm just going to use these 5 colors and do less pressure. And I was in a location with a group of people. It wasn't conducive to actually recording the full process, but I wanted a glow around the butterflies, so I grabbed what I could when I could. You can see that I'm putting that with the yellow pencil. I did start the background, but decided I needed this glow first, so I decided to switch over to that. And then I went back to the background, but this is as far as I got in that first coloring session. It was actually a while before I picked up this page again. We were camped at a really fun location at a race in Moab. So this is the race trailer in my husband's truck. That's one of our company rigs there. You can see we're surrounded by other people. But when I have my own camp trailer, which you're about to see here in a moment, I like to bring my bigger books. And the Vibrant Wilds book is a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier. And so I can bring it because there behind this off-road design rig is my camp trailer. And my dog, because the dogs are adorable and they must be with me at all times. So when I have the camp trailer, I bring the big books even on trips. When I have just a backpack or something else, I bring lighter books. This was about 7:40 in the evening, and my husband was busy getting ready for the race or something. I don't even remember, but no big deal. I think my son was racing dirt bikes the next day too. And I decided that it was nice and quiet. I would come in the camper. I forgot a dog. And sit down and color, because this is the perfect time to do that when nothing else is really going on and you have some quiet time to yourself. And I was all set up and ready. And our camper is a toy hauler, so nothing too luxurious, but I absolutely adore it. I do have some grape snacks there on the side. It looks like I got a little bit farther in the background maybe than that previous clip. So I must have worked on it at some point. It's surprising how long a coloring book like this takes when you're using colored pencils. And I do switch to alcohol markers later, and those actually take a really long time as well. So if you're going to work in a coloring book, just know that no matter what you're doing, unless you're doing something completely abstract, it's probably going to take a while. However, it can be really relaxing. And the pencil sharpener I'm using here is a round 2-hole Cum, K-U-M sharpener. I'll put a picture of it and the link in the description box below. And this worked really well for a while. I did, of course, because their Prismacolors start to have the pencils break on me. I don't know why specifically it suddenly changed, but it did. And switching to the Derwent helical colored pencil sharpener worked way better once I got back home. So after that coloring session, that is all that I got done. And yep, it took a while. I'm using the indigo. These pencils are working really well on this paper. It accepts plenty of layering. It feels great on the paper. So I highly recommend Prismacolors for this coloring book. And real quick, here are the pencils lined up on their color swatches. That's really fun. One pencil I'm already starting out really short. I do have a pencil extender with me just in case I need it. I think I have it with me. If not, I put it in there later for sure. And just because I haven't shown it yet, here is some real-time footage of how the pencils work on there. And it was a little bit hard to tell how much pressure I was doing when I was trying to look through the camera, but you can see that the pencils go on very nicely. So that evening I did finish the entire background. This is the next day, I believe, and I'm just showing you here how it takes layering. And I am not a colored pencil expert by any means. And there is a test page at the back that I thought I would try some blending to see if I could get some darker colors or some more interesting colors. And I can, obviously, and the paper takes the layers really well, but I found out that I didn't actually really enjoy those colors on my coloring page, so I regretted doing it later. And after one more hour of work, this is as far as I got. So Yeah, the layering method is time consuming. And the next morning, I decided to make some coffee and keep coloring since I had some lead time again. 1 hour later. Not getting very far. Coloring with colored pencil takes forever, but I sure am enjoying myself. Right, Jack? He's sleeping. I took him on a long hike. 1 more hour later. It is taking some time. I am just listening to an audiobook while coloring this Project Hail Mary since it's now in movie form. I thought I should hear the book. I've heard it's really good. And that was all the time I had to color on that trip. So this is back in the studio. I decided to open it up and see what I can do. I actually gave up on coloring on the trip because my pencils kept breaking and I could not get it to work and I was just losing too much pencil. So at home with the Derwent Helical pencil sharpener is way better. Although I should say these little pencil sharpeners work fine, but Prismacolor pencils can be pretty picky with what they are sharpened with, so be careful. I'm going to speed the rest of this up, but this is a Colorless Blender from Alcohol Marker Package, and I did use that to try and blend things. Of course, it's making the tip very messed up with color, but you can see that it does do some blending, but I did decide it really wasn't worth it for the most part. I don't know, it does work really well. I just was kind of feeling I wish I had based the background with marker instead of pencil, which is something I'll do in the future, but regardless, it worked fine and the pencils worked fine. And long story short, I'm just going to jump to the end of what this coloring page looks like. I have so many other colored pencils I am dying to try, so you'll see that in some upcoming videos, but it won't be anytime soon. I have a lot of other projects in the meantime. However, here is this one. All done. And these are the lengths of my pencils afterwards. I decided I wanted to use the Ohuhu Puppe paper-friendly markers on the opposing side. And I want to use exactly the same colors, but in the marker version, so you can see the 5 colors I chose there. I've already done a full review on these markers. They are really nice, and if you would like to see that, I will link that in the corner and it should show up in the description box as well. One of the first things I did was put a circle around each butterfly so that I would have a basis for the background. I didn't want to color the entire page, but having some circles back there at least gave the butterflies something to sit on. Now, coloring this page was a much faster experience, but I also didn't do anything super fancy with the markers besides just use them. And of course, these markers worked great. They didn't bleed through the paper at all. Again, this is really thick paper, but alcohol markers will bleed through. Anyway, this is a fun process. If you want to break from something really long and drawn out, like colored pencils, switch over to markers for a while and it will at least be faster. I did this entire page in only 44 minutes. For the next medium, we are going to be coloring part of this page here with the Artex Oros alcohol markers. And I had this previous set here, the 66 set, and they're all very pastel. So you can't get away, in my opinion, with just this particular 66 set, just because, look at, the only dark is basically a black, and that's it. Even layering doesn't get these very dark. So I was really excited when I was offered this 90 set because this has more solid saturated colors, and I was really excited to try them out in this coloring book. So the catch though with this coloring book is if you use alcohol markers in it, it is a double-sided coloring book. So you will be somewhat sacrificing the page on the back side of whatever you're going to use the alcohol markers on. But look at the color selection in this package. Oh, I'm so excited about it. So when I chose this page, I made sure that I wasn't fully attached to the drawings on the back side, but I figured I could probably still save them by using some kind of paint or acrylic markers. And that image there is my inspiration. So I am going to kind of use that as a jumping off point to the colors that I want to choose for this. And these are the colors all swatched out. Aren't they glorious? And what a great selection. Some super saturated ones, some pastels, a bunch of grays. And this is what they look like put in the order of the swatch sheet. They did not come that way, but that is the order this swatch sheet is in. And that's how I put them back in the box so that I could find them more easily. And here are the two sets next to each other. There are 20 duplicates in the 90 set with the 66 set. And I do thoroughly enjoy that the lids for these boxes flip around and give you a basis to put them on. They're at a slight angle. You can slip the corners of your book under it and it works really well. Make sure you always put some kind of blank paper or some kind of plastic behind the pages you're working on in coloring books if you are using alcohol markers or anything that will bleed through. And it was about here when I decided, oh, well, it looks like alcohol markers aren't actually going to be that much faster than colored pencils. And part of that's my fault. I planned to just use alcohol markers on their own and not put anything over the top of them. Like, in other words, not blend with colored pencil after the fact. But I found out later that my skill level with alcohol markers is not at the point where I can do that yet. However, they blended beautifully. They felt really enjoyable to use. Granted, again, I am not an alcohol marker artist. I just know that they worked on this paper. I enjoyed the feel of them. I enjoyed the color payout, and where I could figure out how to blend, they blended really well. So they work for this book. At least the Artex alcohol markers work for this book. And this is where this page ended up after 28 minutes of work. And after only 8 more minutes, I got this much more done. And this that you're seeing here is the bleed through after about 4 more hours of working on it. I did not film it. I was just hanging out with a group of friends, and that's how far I got. And so yes, that backside is completely obliterated for using any kind of transparent coloring medium, but you can see here I have the Artex Grays set. These are acrylic markers, and I was really keen to try these out and see how they covered the alcohol marker bleed through on the backside here. And this is what their color stickers look like compared to what the actual colors look like. Sorry, I was holding my phone in my hand with a group of people. It was a little awkward, but the colors are quite different than these stickers, so do not rely on these stickers for your color choices. Now, I started out in a really small area just to see how the tips felt, and yes, you can get into small areas at first. I think the tips might break down over time, and it might be a little bit harder to get into those small areas, but it's hard to say. These held up great for everything I used them for because I actually gave up on doing the small space and decided to move into the big background, which you can see here. I do move back to small space after this, of course, because I needed to fill in the rest of the background, and the tip was still just fine for the rest of the small spaces. I think you can see that it's covering that alcohol marker beautifully. These maybe aren't the most opaque version of an acrylic marker. However, in this instance, this grays set, every color I used in this grays set felt very opaque. So that changes a little bit when I switch over to the metallic set, which you'll see later, but I was very happy with these. And the fun thing about this grays set is that it comes with a lot of colors. Now, they are what I consider, if you've ever watched many of my watercolor videos, they're gray colors, but it's like a gray magenta and a gray blue. So they are fun, muted colors, and I'm really happy that Artex included those types of colors in this grays set. So if you are interested in a set like this, I'll have it linked below. And here's the background all finished. Now I'm moving on to the flowers, and you can see that pink has a very muted tone to it, and that's, I think, why they include it in the grays set. It's something I would call a pinkish gray or a grayish pink. Grayish pink, I think, is more accurate. Anyway, aren't these colors absolutely beautiful? I was so excited to have these colors, and you can see they're covering the alcohol marker really well. And here it's the point where I consider it finished. I gave it some little highlights here and there, and I think it's quite pretty, and it covered that alcohol marker beautifully. I still have an unfinished page over here. Yeah, we'll deal with that one later. Next up and back in the studio is the Artex Metallic set, and there are a couple of green pages in the beginning of this book. I thought one of these pages would be perfect for metallics. And once again, here's the swatch sheet compared to the stickers. That one was a little closer than the grays set, but I still recommend swatching them yourself. There's just something super satisfying about watching markers go over dark paper or any kind of acrylic marker actually just being opaque over any type of paper. I don't know. Do you guys understand what I'm talking about? Do you get that sense of satisfaction when you're using something and it just covers the paper? I don't know. It's really fun. So I love acrylic markers. I always have. So you know how I mentioned with the grays set that other colors were included, like pinks and blues and greens that were just more grayed out? Well, this metallic set is not just golds and silvers and bronzes. You can see there's a variety of fun colors in the metallics set. So it makes it really versatile. Both these sets are going to be really versatile as far as being so specific for metallics and grays. So I do recommend them if you use these types of colors in your work. I did feel that the metallic set were not quite as opaque as the other markers. However, I didn't have any issues with that. And in fact, in a couple of places, it was kind of fun that they were a little bit more transparent. And any issues with opacity that you have can be solved by adding a second layer. In addition, acrylic markers do not bleed through this paper, nor should they, because most of acrylic markers don't bleed through any paper. However, it works great in this book is my point. And that was 18 minutes of work right there, and then I kept going. And I'll skip past most of that, but you can see that this is basically where I decided to end it. I may go back in and outline some of the flowers. I think that would look really good. Maybe with that really dark metallic color you're seeing kind of in the bottom right corner of the swatch sheet. We'll see, but not in this video. And if you think I forgot about the other side of my page where I used alcohol markers, I did not. We are going to use the Sennelier gouache and see how this paper likes it. I was at an art guild meeting, so I'm set up with a bunch of friends. I brought my Sarah Burns gouache brushes, and they are the regular ones, not the travel version. And my only goal for this session, because I knew I didn't have a lot of time left, was to get a background in. So I do still need to go in and finish these light bulbs, but I was just curious how this gouache would spread. It did require me adding some water to it to make it a little bit more mobile, if you know what I mean. But even with the added water, it felt smooth and buttery and nice, and this paper took it really well. It took the extra water really well, and this was surprisingly opaque. Granted, I chose the color black, which is opaque anyway, so there is that. But still, I felt like this was going to be a fun experience, and I think the Sennelier gouache will work really well on this paper, and that's the point. So I didn't film all of it, but here is what the background looks like now. I intentionally left some areas lighter so that I could go back and put a little variation in color in there, since black is a little boring on its own. And the last medium, which somehow I didn't film, is watercolor. So I used my little Aquatone travel set that I set up in a video that I put out over on my Patreon site. I have a bunch of fun greens in there and yellows that I can make different greens and blues that can help. And even though this paper is not specifically for watercolor, it works just fine with watercolor. And I am going to have fun finishing this page someday. So I have a lot of works in progress in this poor book, but let's start over from the very beginning and refresh our memory on what we did. This green page here with the Artex Acrylic Metallic set of markers, so fun. And the watercolor page I just showed you. Lovely. I can't wait to finish that one. I love watercolors so much. There's some more detail of it again. It's a good page for watercolor too. Then we did the Ohuhu Poupée markers. I would like to know how to say that. Prismacolor colored pencils. The Artex acrylic marker gray set. The Artex Oros alcohol markers. Oh, that's a hefty one to try and finish up in my mind. and the Sennelier Gouache. And yep, it comes off, so that one's going to need sealed once I am finished painting it. This coloring book is high quality and quite fun, so I hope you give it a chance if you are in the market for a coloring book. I hope this video was interesting and useful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now. Just listening to an auto... What's this baby called again? This the gray one?
Yeah, she still hasn't picked a name.
What do you call her?
Yeah, she wanted that, and then she said, like, Joey, and then she said, like, 3 other names, and she doesn't know.
Huh. Do you just call her baby number 1?
Lucy,
oh,
Incarnate.
Lucy Reincarnate, yep, that works.